Hey guys, welcome to the video. Now, I just wanted to say thank you to Hero for making this wonderful fan art you see on the screen. If you like what you see, go subscribe to him. It's really nice, and I think it's really decent. So go subscribe to him, give him some subscribers, goodbye, and enjoy the video. I'm sure we've all heard of creepypastas, right? Well, I'm here to tell you 8 short, creepy ones. So, without further ado, let's begin. In the summer of 2013, I found myself driving home alone on Highway 902 from a party. It was almost midnight, and needless to say, it was pitch black. As was usual at night, I was on edge. I had the radio off and could hear nothing but the muffled roar of tires on the pavement and the dull hum of the engine. I stole a glance into the middle of the rearview mirror and saw nothing but darkness through the back of window. I know that I looked backward without seeing anything. I'm sure of it. Just seemingly endless blackness of the night. I remember it so clearly because not 10 seconds later a car passed me to the left, headlights on. I had one of those sudden adrenaline rushes. Like you think you see a person outside your bedroom window when it's just a tree. Or when you start a wicked night and you feel like you're falling. 10 seconds earlier, nothing had been behind me. Suddenly a car. I drove the rest of the way home, shivering and knowing something was off. The next morning, I found 2 sets of scratches near the back of my van. One was the left rear, and one was on the right. The car was pretty old. They could have been there for months, but that was the first time I distinctly remember seeing them. In hindsight, there are 2 possibilities for what happened that night. Possibility 1, by some glitch in reality or something paranormal, this car had somehow appeared behind me within 10 seconds of me checking my mirror, like some weird ghost crap or something. However, the second option is what makes my blood run cold whenever I consider it. It didn't even occur to me until months after the fact, but it makes me dread driving alone at night even more. Possibility 2, the car was normal. It had approached me from the rear and passed me to my left. However, something large and wide, as black as the night, has been clinging on the rear of my car, obscuring my view through the window and leaving deep scratches on the side. And it had driven home with me. Number 2, instant messaging. It's all started on the 14th night of March, the night of my parents' 20th wedding anniversary. It was a wonderful sunny day, if memory serves, surprisingly warm for the beginning of spring. The beautiful weather was perfect for the atmosphere of the day. Being married for 20 years is obviously a momentous occasion, so my parents had booked a table at our favorite Italian restaurant. Of course, this was a formal occasion, so I had my best suit on. It was 5:33 p.m. and I was just straightening my tie when my phone went off. I'd have received the message. That's strange. I thought that never happens. I checked the message. It was from my mom. It was quite a jumble of numbers and letters, but through the vocabulary I can stew out the illegible phrase, "Please help me." It would go without saying that I was worried so gratefully. So I immediately replied, "Are you okay?" Just as instantly, I got another text which read, "Oops, pocket text." I sighed with relief, and I had prepared myself. A few minutes later, I received yet another message. This time, it's from my dad. I checked the text, and once again, it was a massive mixture of letters and numbers, with the phrase, "Please help me," concealed within. Creepy thoughts this was. My dad was always a joker, so I presumed he was just joking around until I saw another text saying, "Oops, pocket text." Now this sparked a panic. Pure, unmistakable panic. Exactly half a minute passed when I have received the same message from my sister. This cannot have been coincidental. It just couldn't. In a state of sheer anxiety, I started to run to the restaurant. I made it about a corner away when I was stopped by a police officer. "Main road closed," he said. "Huge car crash." This was the exact moment I realized just what had happened. I demanded to see the wreckage, a request I'm surprised was allowed. When I got there, it was the remains of the car that caught my eye. Not the flames billowing from the destroyed vehicle. No, I was horrified to see the lifeless corpse of my mother, father, and sister. I was asked for the estimated time of their death. All three of them were killed instantly by the collision at 5:32. Roommate troubles. This actually happened to me a few years back at the University of Arts in Philadelphia. My sophomore year, I roomed with a girl named Kara. She was a jazz vocalist, but her main interest was opera. We had a small room on the 6th floor of a dormitory called Juniper Hall. The walls were thin, and her last night singing and the voices practicing could keep me up late. After a month or so of lost sleep, I convinced her to move her last night practices to the music studios in the Moraine Theater building a block away. Around 8 p.m. one evening, Kara announced she would be practicing late for an upcoming recital and probably wouldn't be home around midnight. Great. I thought, that means I can go to bed early. I was beat. I had a horrible day in acting studio, and I really was about to pass out soon before I had dinner. She said goodnight and left, coffee and sheet music in hand. I made some grilled cheese and soup, gobbled it down, and immediately began to prepare for bed. By the time I got out of the shower, my eyelids were so heavy I could hardly brush my teeth. I put my PJs on and crawled into the top bunk of our bunk bed. I was out as soon as my head hit the pillow. I should take a second to describe the layout of our apartment. When entering the apartment, the bedroom was through a door immediately to the left. Our bathroom was inside the bedroom just past the bunk beds. UA Arts is nice in the sense that you don't have to share a bedroom. Anyway, I woke up to the sound of my apartment door closing. I opened my eyes and groggily checked my phone. Midnight on the dot. I rolled over and closed my eyes. I heard Kara enter the room and stop in front of our bunk bed, checking to see if I'm actually asleep. I thought. She flopped down the bed below me, which was strange, as she was a stickler for brushing her teeth and washing up before bed. Then again, exams were just around the corner, and we were all exhausted. The mattress below me creaked, and then was silent. I couldn't hear her breathing. I started to drift off again, as was just on the edge of a deep sleep when I started awake from a door. A key in the lock, the door opening, and Kara entering our apartment, humming an opera tune. Number 4. Kid in the Dark. Growing up poor in the deep south, meaning sharing a lot with my little brother, Ollie. Most often we'd pass toys, clothes, and skin conditions between us, up until he was 6. We even shared a bed. Neither of us was happy about that. It was my 10th birthday when that changed. I got one present that year. It was a bed of my own. Ollie was jealous right away, and I could understand why. We had to keep the half-broken frame with worn-out mattresses. The one I'd gotten wasn't much better, but not being broken and worn was enough. Sleeping apart was a great feeling. It was freedom. No longer would I have to suffer from the kicks to the stomach. No longer would I have to wake up to Ollie's foot pressing onto my neck like he stepped on Dracula the night before. At least that's what I thought. Right away, after I got into the new bed, the shriek started. At first I thought Ollie woke up in the middle of the night, screamed because he got scared. Then the sound echoed through the tiny room again, and I knew it wasn't a normal cry. The room was always black as pitch after sunset. The one window we had pressed against a long leaf pine, and even the biggest, brightest moon cast no light aside. The shriek just drove me crazy. Probably the exact time these sharp yells would have knocked me right out of my dreams. It was my mom or dad yelling either. I knew that sounded like believe me. Most worrying of all, the fact that I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It seemed completely random. One night, I'd come from somewhere near the closet. The next, I'd shoot out of the corner of the ceiling. And any hope I'd have of my own room space would get dashed every time, as Ollie would silently sleep into my bed with me, shaking like crazy. He'd collapse onto me and wouldn't let me go until it was almost daybreak. Most times, I'd take his hand and tell him everything was going to be alright next morning, but I was never really sure. Over the time, the shrieking started changing. At first, it was only to small degrees, but eventually, it took out the primal hooting sound of a primate calling for its fierce warning. I had clasped my pillows to my ears to stop from going deaf. Mom and Dad never believed me or Ollie, basically because the thing, whatever it was, refused to make me peep when they were in my room. Apparently, they couldn't hear it through the walls, even though it was damned sure loud enough, I'm sorry. The shriek just got worse and worse until I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. Me and Ollie were doing really bad in school, and we just had no energy at all. I could sleep more deeply with my head dropped up and my eyes in the middle of class than in my own room at night. Thankfully, we moved out of the house nearly a year later. I had contemplated all sorts of things, even as a child's clumsy concept of suicide, to get away from the horrific nightly noise. There was no problem at the next house. It was a nice white cookie-cutter home on the dead-end street, and I welcomed the normalcy. What's more, when we moved into the bunk bed waiting for me and Ollie, no more broken bed, no more second bed. I ended up having to share anyways. The only problem was who deciding to get the top bunk. I told Ollie I deserved it. After all, I have gotten a new bed way back, and he ruined it by climbing onto me every night. What? He shook his head. I never did that. Okay, that was the end of this video. I hope you really liked it. I know what I said, 8 short, scary stories, but I don't have the energy to read anymore, so 5 is good enough, right? I'm sorry for lying to you. Alright, I said 4. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I'm not in the best mood to be doing shit like this, but, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This has been Pumpkin Wings. Cue the outro.